They think that you meditate 12 hours a day and you're eating the dew of the universe.
Back in the day, a martial arts instructor was responsible for. He was more of a community figure. It was a transactional relationship.
Yeah, and it's not, to me, it's not a service. You're kind of pushing them in and pushing them out. Yeah, you could be a millionaire.
Or should it just be at face value? I'm going to teach you what I want to teach you, and then you're a grown person, you can make your own life choices.
So guys, welcome to a episode number 1 of the revamp of Talk Real, Get Real. We are in the basement of the Bat Cave for today.
Yes.
So I'm gonna hand this over to Sifu Lloyd, because Sifu Lloyd's taking over the. He's gonna run this episode, and next episode I'll be running the next episode, and we're gonna go back and forth. But I'm gonna be his sidekick for today.
Yeah, so we're gonna be talking back and forth. So we had come across a video. Well, you showed me a video the other day. The guy has a good channel.
I like his channel a lot. He's a really good guy, and we're gonna be collabing with him. So we'll let you know later about it.
But he was talking to another gentleman, and they were talking about martial arts instructors and schools and things like that. And some of the talking points I agreed with, but some of the talking points were kind of like skewed in a sense that it was everybody's gonna be talking from that point of view, but they kind of took their own wants and stuff out of the equation in terms of how to teach people and what their responsibilities were.
Different generations believe in different ways of teaching and different ways of running a school, and that's what I see.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. So you're shaking them, camera.
Okay.
So basically they were saying is like in any aspect, it doesn't have to be just martial arts instructor. If you're in sports, coach, priest, things like that. So you're taking on mainly a mentorish role or leadership role, and the people you're coaching or mentoring or teaching look to you for guidance. And it's not just the guidance that whatever genre that you're in, it extends beyond that. And whether or not you're willing to take on that responsibility,
it's there.
It's there, whether you want it to be or not. And that was the thing that I had an issue with.
I know.
That was the thing I had an issue with. So basically he was saying that, some people come to me for advice, whatever advice, like life advice and stuff like that. And he goes, dude, I'm just here to teach you self-defense, or I'm just here to teach you how to fight, or I'm just here to do this.
So playing devil's advocate with that, some schools are just literally just that, right? They're just camps. And that's where that whole thought process thing, I think, comes into play again. It's the generation. It's just a generation gap where, the points that I thought were good were the fact that when somebody goes to you and they want to learn from you, they're assuming that you are, you've got your act straight together in your family. They think that you've got your act straight together in this because you are a martial artist and you're running a school. They put you on this pedestal that we always talk about, right?
Yeah.
They think that you meditate 12 hours a day and you're eating the dew of the universe, and you know what I mean, and that's all nonsense.
So you had an issue. Well, it wasn't an issue, but piggybacking on that, when you first opened the school, it was a couple of years, and a lot of students, come into school and ambiance of China and Shaolin and the Buddhas everywhere and stuff like that, and they thought you levitated and meditated for 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then the first time somebody heard you curse,
they were like, "Oh my God!"
Like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "Dude, he's not a monk.
Yeah.
He's not. He's a regular human being."
Yeah.
So to that point, so basically, and I'm gonna dive back. Back in the day, a martial arts instructor was responsible for. He was more of a community figure than just a person who taught people how to fight. Like you said, now generations have passed. The roles have kind of like changed. But back then, you were the basically a family head, because a lot of your students you adopted into your school, you adopted into your family, adopted. So it wasn't just you teaching the martial arts; they were part of your family. So you had to accept that fatherhood or motherhood role, and guide them with life life systems or lifestyle ways to become a better person to function in society.
And some schools out there still do that. I do that.
Yeah.
I run my school like a family.
And depending on the what type of martial arts schools
Yes.
martial arts you train, the type of school, you'll still get that type of teachings, because it's basically a cultural sense of teaching. But if you go into like a run of the mill kickboxing school or run of the mill,
Yeah, they don't have anything.
you're not gonna get that.
No.
You might be lucky to find a good coach who's going to mentor you, because that coach cares about you. But in the grand scheme of things, you're not going to find that kind of culture in a regular martial arts school or McDojo or a MMA gym.
And I think that's where the conundrum comes in. I think that's where the problem comes in, because there's a generation gap where a lot of the instructors nowadays, they've trained, they've mastered their styles and whatever they do, and then they teach, but they don't bring all of those customs over, and it's just a school of learning. You come in, you learn how to roll, you learn how to fight, you learn how to do stand up, whatever you're doing, you learn that, and then you go home. But there's an emptiness to that, right? So, and I think that's where we get that thought where now everybody goes to different camps and they train at different camps,
Yeah.
and there's no loyalty, there's no dedication to just one person, and that person's giving their life experience to you. So again, I think it's for different styles it works, and for other styles it doesn't. And I think that's where that thought process comes into play. What do you think?
Yes and no. I wouldn't say for the style, because the style's a style. So Muay Thai at its base has the same culture as you're going to a karate dojo or a kung fu. It's just different types of cultures in different countries. The thing like that's missing is that
But Muay Thai here in the States is very different.
no, I'm talking about in where these places came from.
Yeah, okay.
I'm talking about where these places came from. The difference between that and here is now it's less of a mentorship or family atmosphere, and more of a transactional relationship.
Yeah.
You know,
And that, and
yeah.
it's not, to me, it's not a service. That is, I don't.
Now I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
You can.
It's a service.
It is, but it's not. It is,
It is, but
it is, but it's not.
So
Because
being a martial arts instructor is a very unique industry, in that you're providing a service to people and they're
yeah,
paying you money, but it's more than a
yeah,
service.
it's not Golden Corral. It's not a
Yeah,
Chinese restaurant. It's not
yeah.
pizza. It's
So
different.
in that essence, if and that guy was, and the drama was going on and going on, and one of the things that stuck with me is like, yeah, good martial artists make bad businessmen, and in that sense, he's totally correct.
So to me, when somebody says service, somebody's talking about a restaurant. Somebody's talking about. So I understand the term service. Yeah, the martial arts is a service, but it's way, way more than that. Especially if
Yeah, but again, it's way, way more than that to you,
yes,
but it's not
yeah,
way more than that
no,
to the person looking for the service.
okay, and
So,
and but for the people that we have in our school, that's what they want. So people gravitate to the places that they want to be at. That's bottom line with that.
right. So certain
Yeah.
people are gonna gravitate towards certain things, and certain
Yeah.
people are gonna have certain wants.
Right.
But I'm basically I'm speaking more general terms, because there's a lot of different schools, a lot of different styles, a lot of different types of instructors. But in a general sense, the guy was right. It's a service, because if you're getting money pay, if you're paying, if it's money's being exchanged, it's a transactional relationship, which means it's a service. Somebody's getting something because somebody's paying somebody.
I agree with that.
But now you can, depending on what type of service you want to give or what type of service you're offering, it could be more than that. Is what then that's the thing
Yes.
that you're talking about, right? So this is up for a matter of opinion, right? Should it be more than that, or should it just be at face value? I'm going to teach you what I want to teach you, and then you're a grown person. You can make your own life choices. You know what I'm saying? So depending on what you're teaching, how you're teaching, you know, I agree and disagree with that, right? So say if somebody's learning, how to box, right? Not necessarily that person is going to go out and be able to kill people, right? But if you're learning a traditional martial art where not just you're learning how to punch and kick, but they're teaching you strangleholds, knife techniques, sword techniques, how to really cause damage to people,
Maiming and killing. Yeah.
maiming and killing, you know, there has to be more than just, all right, I taught you this knife technique, practice it, and I'll see you next week.
Yeah, well, that's where we had that one guy was teaching a 10-year-old knife drills and knife
Yeah,
techniques, and
so there is legalities to learning martial arts that people don't realize. There's not. It's kind of like under, understood, but not really talked about and not conveyed to a lot of people, especially students. And that's one of the things that you talk about, or one of our instructors, C4 Rule, talks about a lot. Because if you're gonna be, God forbid, if you ever have to use it out in the street, it's not just gonna be like a kung fu movie, beat up 60 guys and everybody pat you in the back and go home. You know what I'm saying?
you going to jail.
You going to jail.
Yeah.
And depending on the situation and what happens, if their weapons come out,
Yeah.
you might stay in jail.
Yeah. There's severity to it.
Severity to it. So if you're, depending on what you're teaching, if you're teaching that kind of stuff, you're responsible for that person because you taught them that stuff. So it's not just I teach you how to kill people and then you go on your way. It's not that. And the reality of it, it's not that. Because if you're not teaching people that, you're morally, and I don't even know legally, you're responsible for that. I know the person who's learned it is legally responsible.
I'm sure that they can tie you to it.
Yeah,
Somehow you getting
you
tied to
getting
it.
tied to it. So yeah, so he had some talking points, and as he was talking, he was like, "Oh, my experience this, my experience that," and the guy only had like 4 years of running the school, which is not nothing to sneeze at, but it's not like he taught thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah. A lot of these people that have been running schools have only been training for 20 some odd years, 20 years, 25 years. They've been running schools for like 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? So, I've been running a school for 34 years. You've been training for 30 years. You know what I mean? I've been training for almost 44 years. So, I've been through some shit. You've been through some shit, you know? And I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen people running businesses or running the schools very well. And I've seen people run schools.
Who haven't.
Yeah, who haven't. So,
And people who lost their schools or can't learn to scale, can't feed themselves doing what they love. And that's the thing,
yeah, it's
can't
hard.
feed themselves, do what they love. So martial arts instructor sounds like a good job. And it is, for the most part. It's a very rewarding,
If you treat it like a service,
service.
if you treat it like a service, and you're not holding yourself responsible for the outcomes of everything, and you end up giving black belts quickly, and you don't really worry about that and everything else, and your curriculum is not big, and you're kind of pushing them in and pushing them out. Yeah, you could be a millionaire.
Yeah.
You can make loads of money. There are guys out there making $30,000 a month,
Yeah.
$20,000 a month in one school, and to me, that's fucking crazy. And yeah, I would love that, but I've got to look at myself in the mirror every morning.
Well, that's the thing. It's a very broad industry.
Yeah.
And typically, like you said, you can make as much money as you want. The problem is you can hold on to your ideals and not do certain things, or make as much money as you want. But either way, you're gonna have to sacrifice something. Something you're gonna have to give up to get something. You know. So if you want to be that guy who's driving around in a McLaren and you got 7,000 students, you know,
You got to give something
you gotta
up.
give something up. You're not gonna have the cream of the crop students.
No.
Then again, if you want to be that diehard martial arts instructor that doesn't want to budge with the times because of this and everything, you're only gonna have maybe like 15 students.
Yeah, you're
You know,
absolutely right.
so
That's the left, that's the far left and the
in the
far
far right,
right. Yeah.
so where's the sweet spot? That's
Well,
the question.
and the sweet spot all is up to the instructor. So I think that there was a lot of valid points in the thing that we were watching. I think there's a lot of valid points, but again, it all depends, and that's all opinion. This is all opinion based conversation,
Yeah.
right? So it doesn't mean it's right, and somebody could sit there to the blue in the face and tell you this is the facts of life, but it's an opinion. It's an opinion that this person developed and cultivated through the certain amount of years that they've been training. It doesn't mean it's correct. It means it's correct for them. It means
Yeah.
whatever they believe in, that's their beliefs and that's how they run their school. And that's okay. Because you know what? For me, if somebody wants, you know, seven other fingers in the pot of that one student, you know what I mean? And you're trying to teach them a certain way, and here they're training with seven other teachers, and those seven other teachers are teaching seven other different ways of doing the same thing that you're doing. It's going to be harder for you to get your message through to your student, and that's the problem with multiple, one student going to multiple schools at the same time because they've got their fingers in so much stuff that they can't, like you say today there is an infinite amount of knowledge everywhere on YouTube, right? Sifu Google, you could do whatever you want to do.
Seafood YouTube, yeah.
Sifu YouTube, Sifu Google, you could do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
You can learn whatever information you want to learn. You can learn grappling, you can learn whatever, martial arts, Shaolin,
Yeah, without even leaving your house.
without even leaving your
You don't
house.
even have to join a school.
So here you are learning facets of 15 different styles, but the truth of the matter is that your brain is only going to be able to accumulate only a certain amount of information.
Well, it's that too, but it's just like they say, in order for you to master something, it takes 10,000 hours of constant practice to master something, right? To master whatever skill,
Right.
singing, dancing, playing football, whatever. But that's one skill, 10,000 hours. Now complicate that by seven different skills.
Yeah.
How many hours you got to put in to master all those
Yeah,
seven different skills?
I agree.
And to your case in point, mentally and physically, that might be really, really challenging or impossible.
Yeah.
Right? Really,
Yeah.
really challenging or impossible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, can cross training work?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
cross training can work.
Yes.
If, again, it depends on the student, it depends on how the information is given to the student
And what they're using it for.
and what they're using it for. Right. So there's no way in my mind that for a hardcore traditional training, you're going to be able to get 5 black belts in those 5 different styles in 3 years. The likelihood, the odds are not in your favor, right? But if it's the basis of judo, the basis of this, the basis of that,
Yeah,
basis of this,
you can learn
basic
basics.
shit.
Yeah.
You can get,
Yeah. You can
know?
yeah, so they're each putting something in.
yeah,
But again, you find, so for me anyways, I think the best way to do this is to master a certain system or a certain style, to really understand it inside and out, and then feather out and learn other things that system or that style might be missing. But again,
now again, now
it's-
you're talking about. So you're absolutely right.
but
1007. But
Yes.
the problem is when again different generation.
yeah, exactly.
If this was like feudal China, feudal Japan, that is set in stone.
Yes.
But now we live in Sifu YouTube eras. So now the person that you tell them that,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, well, yeah, I don't want to do that. I want to learn my shit quick.
Yeah. So that's
I don't want to spend 3 years learning one style. I
Right.
want to be doing this. I want to
So
do
go
that.
down
I
a
wanna do
road
this.
and go find-
So now this is where the problem for instructors
Yep.
happen, because now you have to wait for people to come to you. Well, not necessarily. Used to be you had to wait people to come to you because they had what you needed. What you had, what they needed. They saw the worth of what you had, so they had to come to you. Nowadays, it's just about reverse. You have to go get people, show them the worth of what you have to give in order for them to give you money and
Yep.
come to you.
Yep, I
Right?
agree.
No matter how good you are, what your experience is, how much you've been fighting, what your credentials are, and how many trophies you won. People don't give a fuck.
Yep.
People don't care. They just want to know what's in it for me.
Yep.
Right? So now I can see why a lot of martial arts instructors be like, hey, yeah, man, just get paying the money. I'll teach you what you want and you go on your way.
Yeah.
You
Because
know,
they don't want to be connected.
they don't want to be connected, and it's too hard to get people to stick because they have so many. That's the problem. They have so many options.
And so here's another thing too. Say you have an instructor that's been running a school for 4 years.
4 years,
See, he's been running a school for 4 years.
Right.
But the dude's only like 24, 25. Right?
Right.
So does he have any real life experience?
no,
Okay. Like besides teaching martial arts, does he have any real life experience outside the school?
no,
Kid's 25 years old. He's going out, hanging out with his friends. He's partying. He's doing his thing. Besides doing the martial arts, he's also still a kid. He's also still a young kid.
another devil's advocate
Right. So he's
thing. Should people of that age be allowed to open schools, or
Well-
should they open schools? What's the opinion about that?
well again. So I mean, I started when I opened up a school at 20. I legitimately opened up a school at 20. I opened up the school at 20. I started really developing and getting students 3 years after that, and that's when you started coming in. But I was teaching. I had my little book, my little notebook with students, and that's all I had was like 7, 8 students, 9 students, 10 students, and I was running it out of this basement. But I started young, and it was very difficult for me. But I also had the guidance of my other instructors, so it was easier for me to adhere to a certain program and to do it a certain way and everything else. And yeah, so, and I didn't have all of the. I made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
That's why I got rid of 11 black belts, 11 black sashes at that one time. I just got rid of all 11 of them, started all over again, right? Because at that point, I had made really bad mistakes. I spoiled them rotten and everything else, and because of that, this is what I had gotten. I had gotten an infestation of rotten apples, right? So, so I learned my lesson. So again, I think that's the era, is that there's a lot of young instructors out there, and they're still living their life. They don't want to try to help you when you're a year younger than them or 5 years older than them,
yeah.
and they're coming to you to ask for some advice, and you're like, bro, after this, I'm getting some tail.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
I'm not going back home to my wife.
Oh,
Or,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
I'll meet my bros for
Yeah.
some beers or something like
So
that.
again,
Yeah.
so back in the day, being a master in the martial arts took a lifetime of learning, and because of that, they took that role as the father because they were normally older than most of the students that were coming in.
Yeah.
Agreed?
And their experiences were a lot different.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's
Yeah.
again, that's the generation gap. I think that's where that all comes into play.
Yeah. And a lot of the teachings, the old teachings, it depends on what style you train, wasn't transmuted through the generations, right? So myself, I don't drink. You don't drink, we don't smoke. We live a healthy lifestyle, right? Because
Yeah,
that's
but I never told you to. You didn't learn that from me. You just decided that you didn't want to do that.
right, but as a part of the culture of the school, that's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
okay,
It's
all
not
right.
like you said, all right, because you got black belt, you can't. No.
Yeah, no.
It's
No.
the culture of whatever you're training, and the experience of leading by example pushes you in a certain type of lifestyle, right? So if you're in a regular boxing gym, right? If you're not training to be golden gloves or going into professional thing, you take your class, you go home, you eat ho-hos and ding-dongs and shit, and you drink beer and you're good. But those top tier athletes, they sure as shit, they get the recovery and they eat right, they do their woodwork, they don't drink, they don't smoke for the most part. It's a really good
Yeah,
one.
so you know what I'm thinking about, right?
Yeah.
So there are exceptions to the rule.
There are exceptions to the
Because
rule.
my brother who trains, our training brother, man, he smokes so much Kush.
Yes,
And,
yes.
I-
mean, if it's medically
Yeah.
necessary, and it works.
And,
It works.
And he knows so many forms. You would think smoking that much Kush, that shit would just fall out
fall
of
out
his
of his
head.
ears, but it
And it
don't.
don't. It
Yeah.
don't. So
And, you know, it helps him, I guess.
it helps him. It helps him cope.
Cope, yeah, yeah. Um, but you know, I got off a tangent with that. But yeah, I mean, you know, you're not gonna get that type of lifestyle experience, like you said, going to a regular school.
So I don't know. I think this is. I think it's a great topic. I mean, I can't wait to collab with the guy. You know, with the guy that we're talking about. I mean, he's got a great channel.
Yeah, you gotta stay tuned to see who we talking about. We ain't gonna give it to you right now.
No. But he's got a great channel, and I'm looking to collab with him, and I'm hoping to get him to come to the Sanda seminar in
Oh,
March.
that'd be cool.
Yeah. Because again, people don't realize what we do. You know, people think kung fu is Shaw Brothers 1970s movies, and that's the fucking problem.
Yeah.
You know, and not only people, but instructors think that they're doing Shaw Brothers shit. Like I don't, dude. I mean,
I think
I scroll on TikTok all day.
That's a different topic for a different.
That's
podcast.
fine. That's fine. So so we're still staying on we're staying on the topic of today. We're gonna stay on
All
the
right. So now the question is: so now, if you're too far left or too far right, it really doesn't work in terms of creating quality students that, number one, can defend themselves, but also have the lifestyle training or whatever that they can be productive citizens within the martial arts
Okay.
that they use, right? Because we know a lot of people that know how to fight are meatheads that, you know,
Yeah, well, they don't care about the
they
other
don't care.
aspects.
They don't care about the other aspects. And
No.
in that sense, you know, they're not that they're bad people, you know, but you know, if they use their martial arts, you know, a lot of times they can't use the martial arts in certain aspects because they weren't taught how to, and you know, they're because they weren't taught that their life is not becoming, it's not getting better, right? So if you're just a fighter, right, and all you know fight you're good at fighting, right? Like the typical run of the mill MMA person, right? He goes to a gym, gym. Like you said, he's going to different camps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's getting really good at whatever skills he's getting at. But in between camps, what is he doing? You know, what is he doing? You know, he might have a dead end job. He's not making no money. You know, not everybody's going to turn out to be Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The vast percentages of people who train
it's
MMA,
small
it's a very small percentage of people that make
that
it,
actually make it. Yeah.
that make it and make a real good living out of it.
Yeah.
A large percentage of people don't.
Back in the day, I mean, making $125 a round and stuff like that, or winning a tournament and making a couple $100. That was it. You know what I mean? Nowadays, Sifu Moses was telling me that some of these guys are getting paid $2,000, $3,000 a fight, and that's really not bad. But again, the problem is people don't realize that if doesn't say you make $5,000 for the fight,
Yeah.
you still have to pay, right? So you still have to pay your coaches. You
Right.
still have to pay the gym. You
Right.
still have to pay certain fees and certain things that go along with that. By the time, and depending on how much of the purse you get as well too, with all the tickets that are sold, by the time all that is paid out, how much are you really getting? Half of that?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So people don't realize.
Yeah.
People think, oh yeah, it's $3 million. He made $3 million on the fight. No, he didn't make $3 million on the fight because
Yeah.
after him paying all the shit that he had to pay,
Yeah.
that's
But that's the thing is like you have to put all that time in, months, like 4 months of that, to get that little bit of return, And for some people, it may not. It's like, yeah, dude,
Yeah, I mean,
there's no way I can't feed my family on that.
As far as I know, the winner, say the winner makes 3 million or whatever that fought for UFC, whatever they make, they've got to pay a percentage to UFC. Say they get sponsorships, they have to pay UFC. Like the sponsorships give money to you. So whatever money you get from sponsorships, that's not yours. You actually have to give a piece of that
to a piece of your sponsorship.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Wow. You're not making what you think. You don't make what you think you make in these things. I'm just telling you flat out. So
So that's why a lot of them
people.
they fight for a certain amount of time, make a good clip of money, and then a lot of them do commercials.
Yeah, they fucking
They
dude.
go into movies.
They fucking bounce,
They
dude.
bounce.
They bounce because you know what? They've real these. So let's just say the top tier fighters are like 5%, 7% of the fighters that come out. You only get like 7 or 10% of them that are actually making it mainstream, right? Out of those 5 or 10, some of them, a good portion of them, I'm hoping, are talked to about what they should do, and they only have 5 or 6 years, right? Five or
Yeah,
six years is fighting,
of
and
how to invest their money
and
and
right, and they're going to be on top. Let's just say for 2 3 years, they're on top for 2 or 3 years, maybe four, right? In those 4 years of fame, they've got to figure shit out because if they don't figure shit out outside that octagon, outside that cage, they're fucked.
yeah,
And
yeah,
this goes with every combative sport style that's out there, right?
yeah,
So that's like you said. That's why these guys go to commercials. You see these guys not on the Wheaties. Nobody does Wheaties commercials anymore, right? We're outdating ourselves, right? But
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I've seen them in like
car
car
commercials and yeah,
commercials,
dude.
Captain Morgan's commercials. I've seen
Yeah,
people in
dude. Of
perfume
course.
commercials. You know,
Yeah,
I've seen some of them grab. If they're lucky, they gravitate towards
yeah.
movies and stuff like
They make
that.
their own
They'll
clothing
make clothing
line,
lines, you
alcohols.
know, stuff
Yeah,
like
dude.
that, which is smart because a lot of professional athletes do that too,
Yeah.
because their window of what they can do in that thing is very finite as well.
Dude, I just bought a shirt, Mark Anthony shirt. I just bought a Mark Anthony shirt like 3 months ago. A Mark Anthony shirt. The
Oh, I have
singer.
Mark. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
Mark
dude.
Anthony
Yeah,
shirts. Yeah,
yeah, dude.
I like
Yeah.
Mark Anthony
Okay,
shirts.
so you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
he's
yeah, and
you got to
and you
diversify.
got to diversify. You know, so then here goes the dilemma for now. We're saying that for the fighters. Now we're talking just for the martial arts instructors, right? So how do they itch out of living if you're too far not you don't want to be too far left or too far right?
Making YouTube podcasts. No, I don't know, right? So again,
You know,
so we've got to we're diversifying as
yeah.
well.
So in my opinion, if you have a really hardcore fight school, or you teach people really how to fight, you're not gonna make a lot of money. It's just not in the cards because a certain percentage of people
Don't want to fight.
don't want to fight, don't want to get smacked in the face,
Yep, I
right?
agree.
But then again, if you go on the far left, we have 6 schools at 300 students a pop, and you're just that overseer of those schools, and you are not really focusing too much on the fighting because you can't. You're only going to have a small percentage of that populace going to be any kind of fighting whatsoever, right? So in that aspect, you try to keep your students as far away from the real fighters as possible, so they don't get they get a false sense of security of stuff
Right.
that they can handle
So
themselves.
yeah, so they don't lose.
So they don't lose students.
Yeah, they don't leave you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the middle, I say what's
You got to find that middle road.
What's the middle road?
And I think the middle road is up to the individual. Like so, the one guy that we're talking about, who had another guy on his podcast, each one of them had their own views. And again, there's a lot of similarities in everything that we believe. But again, there's going to be a lot of differences in what we believe and how we've run our schools and what we believe is important and what we believe. And I think that it's up to the individual. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, you're right. But again, I come from there's realities to certain things that people understand, but it's under the cuff and nobody really talks about. Right? So if somebody's coming to you for service, right? Somebody's coming to you to learn boxing, they expect to learn boxing,
Yeah.
right? If somebody's coming to you to learn karate, they expect to learn karate. Now, there's one thing that is under the cuff that nobody talks about. These are all fighting arts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got to learn how to fight, which
Yeah.
means you're going to get hit, you're going to get thrown, you're
Yeah.
going to get kicked, you're going to get punched.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that kind of is like, oh yeah, well, we got this program for you, we got that program for you. You can learn this, you can learn that, you can learn this, but way down in the bottom is we got these sparring things and stuff like that, and you're gonna be fighting, and you're gonna be working with different people, and yada yada yada, and learning conditioning and stuff, because it's It's not something. It's something that's understood, but not put to the forefront. So
Oh,
if that was your marketing ploy, you would have no students.
oh, what? If you come to my school because you're gonna get punched in the face.
Yeah, come to
Yeah.
my school, and you'll be fighting,
Hey,
fighting, fighting,
you,
fighting, fighting.
you're gonna get end up punched in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
got it. I got it.
so what's your package to get people in there and still get them to the service that they want and get them to fight, because a lot of them, because it's fighting is what it, and not a lot of people come to, and this is the fucked up thing. Well, not fucked up, but the crazy thing is a lot of people go to martial arts schools and want to train, but have no aspirations of fighting at all, not even getting touched.
Yeah, the one guy who came in the other day, he wants to be flexible. Dude, you're in the wrong school just to be
Yeah,
flexible. Yeah, go on YouTube and
yeah,
find it out.
you know,
But yeah, so again, right? What do we always say is when you rip down all the when you rip down the husk of everything and you pull everything off, it's martial. It has to be fighting, right? So you have to find a way of balancing that out. But there's a lot of people who teach martial arts who aren't fighters. There's a lot of instructors out there who haven't fought. There's a lot of instructors out there who haven't competed. There's a lot of instructors out there that haven't got into any kind of altercations outside the school. There's a lot of instructors out there that haven't taught the military, that haven't had their stuff pressure tested. There's a lot of martial artists out there that have none of that,
yeah,
but they're teaching people martial arts and they're teaching people how to fight, right? So, say you went to a medical facility to get a college degree in operation, and the guy who's teaching you how to operate hasn't operated yet on anybody,
but he's really good in the book.
but he's really good in the book, and he might have opened up a frog or two, right?
Yeah,
How do you, so,
yeah,
you know what I mean? That's like saying that you're gonna go learn how to fly airplane, but the guy who's teaching you how to fly airplane has only did this with his hands and never actually flew an airplane
yeah,
before.
yeah. So yeah, so you're absolutely right. In those type of professions, when people's lives are on the line, and, and people's lives are in your hands, you have to they don't you don't get you. I mean, number one, you have to get a license before you even allowed to do anything in those professions, and then you have to put in so many hours of doing those things, those repetitive things over and over and over again. I can't remember how many hours it is for flying. The thing is probably like 5,000 hours of flying.
I'm not sure, but it's a lot.
It's a lot. And then same thing for operating people. You have to assist operations before they even give you the scalpel. I don't know how many hours that shit is. And then you move slowly into that role, right? But for martial artists, instructors, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna open a school.
Yeah.
You just go
Oh yeah, you get a DBA and then
DBA and
and
call your business whatever it is,
yeah.
and nobody asks you for your credentials, nobody asks you for your license, nobody asks you
No.
what your experience is.
But back in the day, people knew who you are and people came to you because of your fighting ability, what you did for the community, and people knew you by your ability and your talent
Yes.
and what you did.
Yes.
Nowadays, that's not necessary because
Yeah.
people focus more on the art instead of the martial. And again, there's nothing wrong with that except that you need to know where you are in the grand scheme of
Right.
things and not to falsify your students to make them think that you're anything more than that.
Or, because like you said, everybody has an opinion. I have an opinion. You have an
Yep.
opinion. An opinion, in my view, opinion is based on experience. Right. So you can have an opinion, but if you don't have an experience that backs up your opinion is a bunch of shit. Right.
And that's the fact.
That's the facts.
That's
That's
the
the
fact.
fact. But again, that's that underlying thing that nobody wants to talk about.
No,
Right?
it's
Because I have freedom of speech. I have an opinion. I can say what the fuck I want to say.
yeah, it's like somebody wearing a Yankees shirt and going to a Yankees game and telling this guy what he should be doing. Oh, you should be running, you should be doing this, and you're getting
Right.
all
Right.
aggravated, but
Right.
you haven't stepped on the grass
Right.
yet.
Yeah. I'm a fan, man.
Yeah,
I watch all your shit.
You got the beer sitting here on your belly,
Yeah.
and you're going to be telling somebody how to run,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
So that's experience. So now you have a lot of people because of social media now, which is everything's anonymous, unless you want to put yourself out there. So you can say anything you want about any opinion, about anything you see, and you can say that, and you don't get penalized for it. Without impunity.
Yeah, you
Even
don't
if
get you don't get slapped in the
even if
face.
you have no experience.
Yeah.
The problem with that is a lot of people watching stuff, don't know what the hell they're looking at, giving their opinions, and then you have people jumping on those bandwagons because these people have so many followers or so many subscribers or so many views. If you got all these followers and all these subscribers, all these views, you must know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
And then people follow that, and then your opinion becomes
Gospel.
the right way, you know.
Yeah.
And then nobody asks them, well, what's your experience? What's your experience?
Yeah.
You know. And then you have somebody who says, oh, they don't know what they're looking at, and then they just get this big ass brush and just tarnish something. That's like, yeah, that shit doesn't. That's when you have like kung fu don't work,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
or this doesn't work.
that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole nother thing to talk about.
That's a whole nother thing. You know. So in my opinion, martial arts instructors should just be more than just people that just take your tuition, teach you a lesson, and then send you on your way. You know, they should be more. How much more? Leave it up to them. But there should be a lot more than that. You know, because if you're teaching people,
So here, if your kid goes to class, right?
okay.
Say,
Now what? All right. So what kind of class?
So say your kid goes to elementary school, right? Say one of your.
Oh, so we're not talking about martial arts.
No, we're
Right?
talking about elementary school. Say
Okay.
one of your kids goes to elementary school, and kid comes back and you say, how was class and everything else, and good. Teacher just gave us information. Let's just send us home. And you're like, okay. The next day and the next day and the next day, it's the same shit. It's the same shit. It's the same shit. And then, you talk to me, and my kid goes to a different elementary school. And I'm like, yeah, the teacher, he actually took the kids on a field trip to have them actually experience and learn what this is all about, and see what this trade is and see what that trade is. And he knows all the kids by their names, and he does this and he does that and he does this and he does that. You'd be like, so then you start saying to yourself, why is my son's teacher just teaching material and just sending them on their way, and why is your teacher more involved, right? So as a parent, you want a teacher that's more involved with your kid to give them that experience and that life experience.
But here's the problem. If you're on the far right and you have an instructor who's that diehard instructor, that's the type of instructor you're going to get. Mm-hmm. If you're on the far left and you got the guy who has 6, 7 schools and has to manage all those schools, and you barely see him in all the schools, you got to deal with who's ever in that school teaching them.
Yeah, or leave and go to a different school. Yeah, so you've got to find. So again, there's lots of people that have lots of opinions and lots of directions and lots of things that they want.
But in the past, what we've experienced, right, is we get, I don't want to say the leftovers, but we get I don't even say the misfits, but we get people who are disappointed.
Disappointed and disillusioned.
Disillusioned, right? Because they put their kid in the far left school, right? Because they promised them certain things, and they made it good on their promises.
Yeah, but the kid can't walk and
but
shoot.
But the kid has no skill, right? Case in point.
No names.
No, but remember that kid that came to us that she got beat up in school?
Yes.
But
yes.
And she was in one of those schools and was almost to a black belt level.
Yeah.
But she got monkey stomped.
She got stomped out.
Stomped out. She got stomped out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then they come to us, and we had to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, so but what's the mentality to that, right? So here's the other thing to that, right? So the kid took a class at our school and it was way too difficult for her.
Correct.
So she was like, "Oh my God, this is too hard. We didn't do this in the other school." And then, okay, so if you don't work hard like this, you're gonna get stomped out.
Yes.
And she had it on tape. She had it on video. So, go back to the video, see how badly you got stomped out, and then say to yourself, should I be working harder? Of course you should be working harder, but the mentality is I don't want to work harder. I just want to get that rank.
Yeah, well, also the issue is parents don't know no better. Parents don't know no better.
I hear that.
Right? Because parents don't do what? Parents don't research. Parents just goes all right, you want to do martial arts? Google. What's the closest martial arts school to our
Find me the closest.
Closest martial arts school.
Yeah.
All right. And then he call her up. Oh yeah, you got openings. Okay, so what's the price point? Ooh, I like that. And I get free this or that. We there. No matter what the person is, they don't research the person's experience.
Yeah.
If he's been in any competition, if
Nope.
he's had any experience, you actually using what he's teaching, right?
Yep. It's as close. It's what's the closest?
What's the
Which
closest,
is the closest
right?
Starbucks to go
Right.
to?
So then you take your kid there, right? They starting the program, they're making progress, they're getting belts, they're doing this. Sometimes they get an in-house tournament and they do well.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
parents sees this all as positive progress.
Yes.
So the school's actually making good on their promises, except for one thing, the underlying thing that nobody talks about.
They get stomped out.
They get stomped out because none of these fucking kids can fight.
I agree.
None of these kids can fight.
I agree.
And that's a reality that if you're in a martial arts school, no matter what it is, that's the underlying thing. Kids or people have to know how to defend themselves. That's part of your job. And if you're not pushing that, no matter how small you're pushing that, then you're just, in my opinion, the service you're getting is shit service. You're giving shit service. You know?
I agree.
Because yeah, you giving them nice shiny gis, and they can flip and they can do all these things with the weapons
Yep.
and do all these crazy forms and flip and stuff like
They're
that.
getting belts and they're
You
getting
know?
tips and they're getting
Yeah, you know, if they're happy now in some way, somebody comes up to them, give me your money, and they go, what the?
and then
Boom, and
he gets
you
knocked
get
out.
stomped out.
Yeah.
You know, you get stomped out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that to me is the bigger problem. I think that to me is the bigger that to me is the bigger transaction here is that getting stomped out is the worst thing that you want for your student. For me, that's the worst thing I want for my students is to get stomped out.
Yeah.
So I take what I teach very personal, and I really do my homework and I do my due diligence, and I'm still training, and you're still training, and you're still teaching, and we get better and better as we go along. But there are people that don't feel that that's part of the transaction. You know what I
Yes.
mean? They don't feel that that's part
And
of
I've
the
had
transaction.
friends who come up to me because they know I'm training stuff like that, and it's like, oh, and they don't live near the school, they don't live near me, but they want me to give my opinion, right? And then and don't get me wrong, the far left martial arts schools, I'm not saying get rid of them because these schools do have a place.
They have a place. Every school has a place.
Every school has a place. Like you said, you just have to know what you're getting into.
Yeah, the
right?
teacher needs to know what
And
he's
the
teaching.
teacher has to, and if one of the talking points is like, yeah, we got a positive attitude, they're gonna be able to focus, they're gonna be this, that, but they're not gonna be able to fight. You can't put that in your marketing.
We teach everything but fighting.
Yeah, so they're not gonna be able to fight.
Yeah, no.
Right?
No.
They can't put that in the marketing.
Yeah.
So that's
Nope.
that part's left out.
Yeah.
Whether you have to tell the people that the kids have to fight, or you're telling people we don't emphasize on the fighting.
Yeah, no.
That part is left out, right? And then you have the far right guy. And it's like, yeah, well, you can't move up unless you start fighting.
See, I'm more towards that.
Yeah,
I'm more towards that.
yeah. So you're
I lean a little bit
you
towards
lean a
that.
little bit, but
Yeah.
but the packaging is different.
Yeah.
The packaging is different, right? So it's like, yeah, we teach you how to fight, but we guide you through the process.
Yeah.
You're guided through the process, so it's not like you're gonna be, getting injured all the time and just stuff like that. Stuff like that is going to happen. The same thing when you're playing sports.
Yeah.
Right? You put the kid in football.
Yeah. Injury's gonna happen.
Injury's going to happen. So you got these moms on these dads, or like football moms, football dads, and they see the kids. It's like, oh, we're on the ground until they get tackled. And it's like, they tackled him too hard. And it was like, what the fuck you think is going to happen?
What do you think was going
What
on?
do you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
He shouldn't have hit him that hard. Motherfucker, he's there to win.
Yeah,
he's there to compete.
Yeah.
If your kid can't keep up or doesn't have the mentality or the emotional fortitude or competition, that's the wrong sport for your kid.
Yeah, go put them in something else.
Football ain't for him.
Yeah, put them in
It
something
might
else.
be basketball.
Yeah. And basketball's rough too, man.
Basketball's rough too, but you're not getting tackled every time.
No, not every time.
Every time, purely contact sport.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. So you're kind of like in the middle,
Yeah, I mean,
more towards the right.
yeah, I
A
mean,
little bit.
for
You
us
know.
is you can't, you know that you can't advance unless you're sparring. And you know the beautiful thing about that is we have a student. I'm not going to mention any names, but the cool thing is that before the test, I got a phone call and that they wanted to not do the test because they felt that they weren't ready and they didn't think they could handle the fighting. And I told him, trust the instructors. We wouldn't put you in a position where, we didn't think that you'd be able to handle yourself, right? And I told him, I said, what's the worst thing that can happen? Take a nap. That's the worst thing that's going to happen.
Yes.
You get knocked out, you take a nap.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing that's going to happen.
So in that essence, the packaging is palatable. The packaging is palatable, even though they know I'm gonna get hit, I'm gonna get kicked. It's not gonna feel good, but there's a positive connotation to that. I'm gonna come out on the other end being a better person.
Yeah, I mean, look what he did for the test.
Yes.
And now he spars with heavier, bigger
Everybody.
people, and
he's getting good.
He's getting good.
And he's getting good.
Yeah, he's getting good.
You know what I mean?
So yeah.
So and now you have quote unquote modern schools who are just fight schools that can't keep up because of that. So now they have to introduce other stuff to keep people, to keep students, so they can keep the lights on and keep the doors open.
Yeah, it becomes a buffet at that point.
It becomes a buffet. You know what I mean? The only ones who truly, in my opinion, don't have a problem are those far left schools. They making money, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, well, so when you have five schools, you can have a tournament with all your five schools.
All your five schools.
And everybody's making money, and you could be on your own planet.
Other far left schools who are just like you can have a bigger tournament, all these people.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that's right.
You get trophies left and right.
Yeah.
But then you bring them to the hardcore tournament, and
it doesn't fare well.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, it doesn't fare well.
But these people make sure that to keep the people away from those type of tournaments.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're 1,000% correct. And that's, again, so they've created their own world, they've created their own island, and they're keeping to themselves, and they're creating whatever they want to create.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But again, stay in your lane.
Right. But when somebody like you, who wants to venture into that pool, and you get kind of pushback, you're like, I don't understand why I'm getting pushback. That's why you get pushback.
Yeah, well, because they don't want that in there.
They don't want that in there. It's like, oh, well, yeah. And it's certain, he was like, I don't understand why this guy doesn't want me to come down there and teach. It was like, that's why.
That's the reason why.
That's the reason why.
Yeah,
because
I agree with that.
It's like, oh, well, he's got a bigger, better deal. He's going to be in my pond, and my tadpoles.
He's going to be in my pond.
And my tadpoles may want to jump into another lake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where somebody like you.
He finally he gave me thumbs up. He liked what I said.
He liked it. That's it.
Yeah, that's all.
That's all he said.
That's all. It's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah. So and somebody like you, you'll take people to different instructors to get a different taste. Because of the base of what you taught them, they can use it in different styles. So you don't have a problem doing that, and no fear of losing students.
No, not at all.
On the other side, they'll never bring you there, because then the holes in their students' techniques is going to shine through.
Yep, I agree with that.
Even if the students don't jump ship, the students are going to start questioning themselves. It's like,
then they question the teacher.
Then they question their teacher, right? So if you're wondering, well, you already know why you don't get invited to certain spots.
I'm pretty clear on that. I'm pretty clear on that.
That's why.
I'm pretty clear on that.
That's why. So, can the left and the right commingle? Of course.
Yes.
Of course. So, but then again, for you to commingle and kind of step into that pond, you got to give up something.
Yeah.
You got to sacrifice something. So you can't go in there totally hardcore. All right, motherfuckers, wrap up. We got
So in wrapping up the show, what is your message to the YouTube community out there, the ones that are following us and should be subscribing? Because quite truthfully, 70% of you guys are not subscribed. so That other
And
70%, please subscribe.
yeah, subscribe, like, if you're liking the content, let us know so we can keep keep going and know exactly where. I'm sorry, what was the question
So
again?
the question was, is to wrap up what we were talking about. What is your message to our community?
Do your goddamn homework. Know who you're talking about. The problem is, it's such a vast community that you can talk shit about somebody because you know they're on the other side of the country. And depending on how bad you piss them off, they're not going to jump a plane, come looking for you.
No.
You know, unless you get that one
Yeah,
person.
you can get that
You got that one
one
person
percenter.
is like, I'm coming for you, dude. You know what I'm saying? And that's the good thing and the bad thing about this platform.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if you have an opinion about something, do your research and have it and back up your opinion, right? So making a blank statement, kung fu's not for fighting, is a broad blanket statement.
That's bullshit.
That's bullshit because of your particular experience,
Yeah.
right? Do your research, find, and that's the thing is that I do and I have an opinion about. Find the top exponents in whatever opinion you want to give, and then make your opinion.
Yeah, make your assessment.
That'd be the smart thing to do. Just to make a blanket statement like that, and it doesn't have to be about kung fu, but it's about kung fu mostly, and this or that, or this technique doesn't work and that technique doesn't work, because you suck at it, you know,
Yeah.
and then you have all these followers, and all these followers start uh, giving you the whole, yeah, dude, you're so right, you're so this, you're so that, and this is another thing a lot of these guys do. They do this, and they know they don't have the experience, but they know they have the followers, and they just make their blanket statements, right? But they would never ever, because they cherry pick who they want to make an opinion about, because they know their skill is only so good,
Yeah.
their experience is
Yep.
only so good, right? And that's another part of it, right? Because you're talking about being able to look yourself in the mirror,
Yep.
right? So you know you're not that great, but you have all these followers, and you make this opinion, and you got people on your bandwagon because you cherry pick who you want to give an opinion about,
Yeah.
and you don't seek out the people who are really good at what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Because if you did, then your whole argument would shatter like a piece of glass.
Yep. 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 Well, and then that's where we come into we see some of these podcasts where there's a guy actually, he's doing a commentary and he's not even a fighter, hasn't fought, his feet haven't touched the mat, they
Oh
haven't
yeah, yeah,
touched,
yeah,
they
yeah,
haven't
yeah,
touched
yeah,
the canvas,
yeah, yeah.
whatever it is, but they're giving an opinion on what they believe in, and it's always making fun of, oh, this Tai Chi master, this Kung Fu master, this Karate master, or this MMA master. It's not about that. It's about these two fighters. You don't know the level of this fighter from a video
Yeah.
that you're watching that has only been put on there. You don't know who this person is, but you're gonna say it's a master, right? Because then that'll amplify the fact that if he's a master and he gets his ass kicked, then it doesn't
Yeah.
work, and that's
He's a
bullshit.
master. He should know what he's
Right,
talking
and
about.
that's
He should
bullshit,
have this. He
and
should have that.
that's bullshit.
You know.
That makes me
But
fucking up.
that's exactly what because then you have this platform, and there's a lot of channels that have this platform in a negative context because that's what they're pushing, and that's how they get their views and their sponsorships, and they're people who want to subscribe to their channel, and then you have the other side who give positive stuff, right? So the negative gets views and the positive gets views. What side of the fence you want to be on, right?
But in all of that, I will say that 85% of the kung fu stylists don't fight, and they suck. They suck at fighting.
Yes.
They're good at forms. They're good at other stuff, but they suck at fighting because they don't pressure test. But you can't make a blanket statement,
Right.
and say
But
that all
for
of it doesn't
all
work.
those the 80, you said 80%.
85%.
So there's 20% that do.
Yeah.
But where's the 20%? That's my argument. Nobody talks about the 20% because nobody bothers to do the research
To find them.
to find these fucking people.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
To find these people.
Yeah. You don't see these guys walking into a sanda camp
No.
and talking about it. But then again, they don't know.
No.
They don't think that
Yeah.
sanda. They don't.
And to that point when you were talking about that dude talking about, this is not for fighting, So another channel that I like, went to a different school, different type of style, and the guy showed him it was a kung fu style, showed him the techniques, and they did some sparring a little bit, and I'm looking at it, and I know what I'm looking at. You know what you're looking at
Oh, I know who you
because
were talking
you know
about
what I'm
because we
talking
were
about.
talking about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and because you have the experience of getting smacked in the face,
yeah,
you have the experience of being in competition. So you're looking, and it's like, oh yeah, well this guy, is good, But then the other guy who makes his commentary negative comments is like, no, this guy kung fu style is fake.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
fake.
yeah.
I'm like, were we watching the same video? I mean, the guy broke a brick with his freaking knuckles.
Yeah, yeah,
He broke the brick,
yeah,
and he didn't put the brick was real. He didn't put anything on top of the brick. He's like, yeah, pow, and broke the brick.
yeah,
I don't know what you watching, but to me, that shit ain't fake.
yeah.
I don't want to get hit in the throat with that.
And again, that's the point, right? I don't want to get hit in the throat with that. So certain styles, and yeah, you know what, you know, every style can be accommodated, and you can take stuff from all the styles and utilize it in free sparring and utilize it in sanda.
Yeah.
But there are techniques that you can't use, because it's not.
Right.
So when you're talking about fighting, are you talking about sport combat? Or are you talking about street fighting?
Right.
What are you talking
So it
about?
was a light contact, right? And the guy had gloves on.
Yeah.
But he was just tapping him
Yeah.
because his hands are conditioned.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to tap him on too hard. He's come to my school collabing with me. I don't want to send him home with some busted shit open.
Yep, yep, I agree.
I don't want to do that. I want to show respect. But to the other guys, it's like, yeah, he can't move. He's not fighting the right way. Because all he knows in his mind fighting is combat fighting.
Combat sport.
Fighting. This guy's doing techniques that if he actually turned it up, the other guy would have a bad day.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and again, so I think that's the major problem with everything, right? When we talk about fighting, what is your definition of fighting? Is it sport combat? Is it street fighting? Is it survival fighting? Because there's very different levels of fighting. There's one where you bring boots and shovels and end up burying, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of different different variables in this. What are we talking about when you say fighting, right? So where is people's mentality? I would say the majority of people's mentality is sport combat, and if it doesn't hold up in sport combat, then it's not going to hold up in real life, and that's a crock of shit.
Well, the problem with that is, and why that is because a lot of people who were supposed to do street combat, again, had no fighting experience whatsoever. So they made a cope and say, oh, I can't spar with you, I can't show you these techniques because these techniques are too deadly to show.
Yeah, see, that's a crock of shit.
That's
too.
a crock of shit. So that's why, I won't say that's why, but that's part of the catalyst that perpetuated that kind of thing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But from my opinion, from what I've been taught from you and all the other instructors, is like you have to be in both worlds. You have to be good at combat sport, and you have to be good at street combat.
So why combat sports? What does that do for you?
Because when going back to the kung fu guy on that video, when he was breaking the brick with his thing. Obviously, you train it, and it's there to use if you need it to. But how are you gonna apply it? Because you can't be smacking people in the throat all the time just to get the accuracy.
No,
you know what I'm saying.
But you should be able to pressure test. You should be able to gear up and be able to pressure test it. So
that's where the combat area is. Because now you can get hit. Now you can practice timing. Now you can practice distance.
Yes.
Now you can practice footwork and get lumped up a little bit, so you know exactly where you're supposed to be in order to be able to deliver that strike.
When to use it.
When to use it. You
Correct.
know what I'm saying?
Correct.
So, that's why people practice sparring and combat sports and stuff, because you get kind of like that pressure testing or real-time things. It's like, yeah, if I can't hit somebody with a jab, ain't no way I'm going to hit somebody with that.
That's exactly right. And that's the reality of it, right? So, again, like you said, we train sport mentality, right? Sport combat to give us the nervousness, to understand timing, to understand power, to understand footwork, everything that we learn traditionally. Now we're putting it to use and we're putting it in training, right?
Right.
And that's what you're saying, and I agree with that
And then you have the
100%.
other spectrum where you're learning the street combat, where the margin of error is a lot smaller and the time to apply the techniques is a lot shorter, right? So if somebody grabs you, you only have like a couple seconds to get your technique off.
Yeah, you're not pushing off and moving
And
around.
moving around, stuff like that, right? So,
right. So there's values for everything, but pressure testing is very, very important. It's probably
Okay.
the important part of that.
But my problem with that part is they practice how to use that technique in one specific way. But what you do and what I like is you practice that technique, but practice it in different types of ways. So now you can adapt.
Yep.
You can adapt, and it's still in the concepts of the style and the system, but it's not just, all right, one roadmap to how to use these techniques. It's like 4 different roadmaps, and that 4 different roadmaps branches into other different roadmaps. So even if I can't hit you in the throat with it, right?
You're hitting something.
I'm hitting something else. I can adapt it to something else.
Yeah, you're hitting something
right?
else.
So
Agreed.
that's why I say you have to live in both, because this one you have that, but you're not, you have general sense of how to fight, and you're pretty effective, but on the street
It's different.
it's different. You don't have the time to do those type of techniques. Your time is very limited.
Yeah.
And then on the other sense, you're very good and very accurate, right? But if you don't get that technique off in 1 or 2 shots, and you don't have nothing to answer for it, then you're in a world of shit again.
Yeah. And so the question is out in the street, it takes a second for somebody to pull a knife out. A second to pull a knife out.
Yeah.
And the minute somebody feels threatened, clink, it comes right out.
Yes.
And the way these are made now, the minute you pull them out of your pants, they're already deployed.
Open. Yeah.
They're already deployed. They're already deployed and open. So, it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game because it's a matter of going home at the end of the day. Somebody's going to the hospital.
I feel bad because sometimes I'll be teaching class and I'll be saying, and I try to hold myself back and saying these things to the students, and all of a sudden their eyes go like this. Because I try to,
Hey, give them a little taste of reality.
Right, the techniques I'm showing you, like even at a base stage, this is where we're gonna take it eventually.
Yeah.
And this is what it's for eventually. But again, it's that underlying thing that nobody talks about.
So, so this is the first episode. I'm super, super excited about it.
It's gonna be a rough cut. Because we're getting back into it. It's been like a couple years since we've done this podcast.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, dude, I love the green screens and all the crazy, stupid shit that we had, but it's all right. We'll make this work. I know you don't like it. You're like, fuck that.
Is this thing?
I know, I got you, but it was fun. I had a good time. I had a good time with it. But this is the new podcast, so we're gonna take this to a really good level, guys. The more support that we get, the better the better videos that we can make. The more that you guys share this out, the more we can build our community, and that's what this is all about, just educating the public. And Seafood did an awesome job today. It was a really good topic.
Thank you.
And I think it was a topic that, again, needs to be talked about. And I think this is what Talk Real Get Real is all about, is talking about the shit that nobody wants to talk about. So.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, well, actually, don't even say unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it's fortunate that we can do this, right? So we have the experience. We have the experience of fighting. We have the experience of running a school. We have the experience of learning, teaching, being a student still. Yeah. So there's lots and lots of stuff. So again, guys, talk real, get real, train real, get real.
Shouting out.